know you're probably thinking about right now, why would you drive your truck and trailer across that river? Well, I need to tell you the whole story. So to start with, I was on Marketplace and found the tractor for sale. The guy had listed it and said that the left brake was stuck on the tractor. So I sent him a message. He had obviously listed it at a pretty decent price, considering the fact that he couldn't use it because he couldn't pull it forward. He said you could back up some, but it wouldn't pull forward. And he stated that the brake was stuck. Sent him a message on Marketplace and asked him, would like to come take a look at your tractor. When would be a good time? The first thing that he says back to me is this: tractor is across river with no bridge. I said, what? I thought at this point he's probably a scam or something, and he was just messing with me. He said, it is across the river with no bridge. Then he says, you drive a Ford, it'll be fine. Okay, I said, can you call me? So a day goes by, nothing, and I finally get a phone call from the guy. He calls, he's like, yeah, I live across the river, no bridge. He said, but we had a cable guy come recently and repair our cable, and he made it across fine, so you should be good. I said, well, I'm bringing a pretty big truck and trailer. We just wanted to make sure you think my truck and trailer are going to make it across the river. He said, yeah, you should be fine. He said, I don't know if anybody's ever pulled a trailer across the river before, but nevertheless, should be good. I said, okay, send me the address. So he sends me the address, and the address he sends me, I'm looking at it on Google Maps, and you can kind of see the road. You kind of see how the road goes. It looks like through a grassy area at the dead end of this street, and you can see his house across the river. And I'm like, okay, well, probably not too bad. He's probably got a road that goes up through these trees or something, and be pretty straightforward. So I set up a time with him to go take a look. Told him I'd be there at a certain day, certain time. Pull up to the address that he sent me, and I was like, yep, there's no way this is where I'm supposed to be. I ended up at, like I said, dead end of this road, and what looked like where they had been crossing via Google was not indeed that. I don't know what that darker patch of grass was that goes through there, but it is definitely not where they were going across the river, because as soon as you cross over the river right there, it is like a 40-foot drop from his house down to the river, and it's straight down. There is no way that I was crossing the river there. But when I got there, I had no phone service, so I had to I walked all the way to the river and yelled across the river trying to get in touch with this guy so that I could figure out where it was that I actually needed to be versus where I was. So I walk down to the river and yell, hey! I wait. I yell again. And finally, the guy walks over to the edge. You can see him. He's like, yeah. I said, y'all the people that got the tractor for sale? Yeah. I said, am I where I'm supposed to be? He said, no. I said, okay. Where do I need to be? He said, go back up to the main road, turn left, and it's in the curve right there. It looked like a little park area where there was a walking bridge across the river and some green grass on the other side of the river. I thought maybe it was a park where you park your car, you walk across the river, you can go, fish in the river, have a picnic at the place on the other side. Oh no, that's his place. And that was their bridge that they use to get across the river, because there's only like 4 months out of the year that they could drive across the river with their four-wheel drive truck. And I was getting ready to have to go across it to get this tractor with my dually and 35-foot gooseneck trailer. So I pull back up there, I wait. His wife walks down the hill to meet me, and she said, "You see the path to your left?" And it was like a little gravel path that went down to the left. And I said, "Yeah." She's like, "Drive your truck down that path." So we drive the truck down the path that takes a hard right towards the river, and that's where we pick up here. So, made it across the river, get to the other side, and get out. His wife says, "I didn't think you were going to make it." She's like, "After seeing the truck and trailer, I just knew you wasn't going to make it across the river." She's like, "But thankfully you pinned it right there at the end, got it right on up and out of there." At this point, I'm kind of stressed. I'm like, holy cow, I got over here, but I hadn't even got this tractor, nothing yet. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to turn around over here, because when I came up out of the river, his house was to the left up a really steep driveway, and to the right there was there's a little cabin, and there was a kind of open area, but it was somebody else's yard. Apparently there are 3 other people that live there, and there's this little narrow path that leads like beside the river, but up off of the bank enough to where they made a little road through there. But it didn't look like my dually was gonna fit on the path, and so I'm trying to figure out how, one, I'm gonna get my dually and 35-foot trailer turned around back there, but 2, once I do get it turned around, getting the tractor loaded up that is up the side of this mountain, that he's claiming won't move more than 10 feet in reverse, and there's no way I'm going to back my dually up his driveway. No way possible that that trailer was going to go up the driveway, because the tractor was as wide as the driveway. Now, mind you, this is not a very wide tractor. It's a 38 horsepower tractor. It's probably, I don't know, 6 foot wide at most. My dually is 8 foot wide, so there's no way that that truck was going to back up that driveway. So we walk up his driveway, and he's up there with the tractor trying to get it started back down the hill so that he could meet us, because he realized the same thing we did. We weren't going to make it up there, not with what we had. So he had started backing the tractor down the driveway, and he had made it a quarter of the way down the driveway when the fuel filters on the tractor started clogging. And now the tractor that I come to buy not only has the brakes stuck on it, but it also doesn't run right now. And I got to figure out how to navigate the deal to buy this tractor for less money than what we had discussed, because it's needing more work than what we discussed. But 2, not piss off the guy that I'm coming to buy it from, because I might end up needing his help to get me out of the river, or get me turned around, or you know, a lot of things. And so I'm like, I have put myself in a real sticky situation. So, my brother-in-law Brandon went with me, and we got to talking about the situation, trying to figure out what we were going to do. I decided that it was going to be better if I tried to fix the brake before we moved the tractor any farther than what it had moved, because if it wasn't going to run right, we at least needed that brake to get unstuck so that it would free roll down the hill. Even if it wouldn't run, we could roll it down the hill to the bottom. I've got a winch on the trailer, so we could winch it up on the trailer and leave. So I asked the guy if he had any tools. He went and got me, I think, a pair of channel locks and a hammer or something. I crawled up under the tractor, got looking, and so I disconnected. The way the brake pedals work on this tractor is that the left brake pedal runs through the casing on the tractor, and then you have a rod that connects from the arm that goes through the casing all the way back to the drum on the tractor. So I disconnected the arm, and as soon as I did, boom, the brake popped unstuck. So pretty simple process getting the brake unstuck. So I was like, okay, step 2, let's get this tractor down this narrow driveway, get it down to the bottom where the truck is, and from there, once we get it down there at the bottom where the truck is, I'll look this thing over real good and figure out what I think it ought to be price wise taken off before we try to load it or try to turn the truck around or anything else. So we get it down to the bottom of the hill. That goes pretty smooth. Ended up free rolling the tractor with it cut off. It was easier than trying to crank the tractor and it die and then crank it back. We just free rolled with it in gear, rolling down the hill. That way I could use the clutch to kind of work as a brake to slow the tractor down so it didn't get up too much speed going down the side of this hill. So we get to the bottom, and I asked the guys, is there somewhere I can turn my truck around? And so he took me down that little narrow path that was by the river. And when I say narrow path, like as we were going down the path, I could feel the truck like bumping up against the like little ledge wall on the left side, because if I went any more to the right, we would have probably fallen off the bank into the creek or hit a tree that was between us and the river. So the truck was nudging up against the side, and trailer's kind of doing the same thing as we're making our way through. We got up to his neighbor's, and his neighbor had a really big, open, nice place to turn around. So for once, I'm like, okay, we're going to be all right. We're going to get this thing turned around. So we got the truck turned around, started coming back, got back. I said, all right. I said, I'd like to look over your tractor, make sure I know what I'm buying at this point. So I said, well, at this point, if he gets mad at me, at least I'm pointing the right direction to where I can leave and hopefully make it across the river without any issues. So we get out of the truck and we go look at the tractor, and I looked it over, and there weren't any other issues other than the fuel issue. And so in my mind, the tractor needed a full service. Like you could tell, it hadn't been serviced in a while. That's probably why the fuel filters were clogged. It needed the fuel system to be cleaned, and probably need an oil change and just all the other filters and fluids changed in it as well. And so I thought, okay, this is probably a $500 deduction of the price that we had discussed because of the additional needs. So I asked the guy, I said, so being as the tractor's in a little worse shape, are you willing to work with me on the price to take more off for the issues? And he said, yep. He said, this is what I'll do. And I didn't even have to bother. Like, he was a really nice guy. I didn't even have to bother trying to haggle with him. He told me what he would do. It was more than reasonable. And so we paid the man, loaded the tractor, and here comes the river. So, thanks, Brandon, for not videoing the whole thing of what happened after this point, but that's okay. We're going to get you trained to be a photographer, videographer, whatever. But for now, you'll just have to see my face again to tell you what happened from here. So, as I would pull up out of there, the trailer tire on the left was catching the bank and digging in and would not get over this like final hump. Like the truck would get up and over, but it would lose traction because of the weight on the trailer pulling on the back of the truck. The truck would lose traction and just spin and wouldn't get over this final lip to pull everything out. And so I ended up having to back down into the river and try it at a different angle, get a little bit farther, back up, try it at a different angle, get a little bit farther. And finally I realized we're not going to make it out of this. Like, truck trailer's not coming up over this hump without some sort of help. So the only thing that I've got on, with me that would possibly help us is the winch on the trailer. And I'm like, well, there was a telephone pole on, like, over in front of the truck, kind of to the right a little bit, and I was like, okay, so run the winch on the trailer out under the truck, run it all the way under the truck, hook it to the telephone pole, have Brandon run the winch while I am in the truck, giving the gas in the truck as well to get us up and over this final little ledge. So we get the winch cable out, we run it over the telephone pole, get it hooked, and about the time I get it hooked on the telephone pole, here comes a neighbor in his 1500 Chevrolet Silverado. He said, "Y'all boys need any help?" And I said, well, I think we got it. I said, we're going to hook this telephone pole and try to winch the truck up. It's just needs a little bit to get it up and over the bump. He said, well, I got a chain in the back of my truck. He said, I'll pull that thing out of there. I said, okay, well, if you're willing to help, we're, at this point, we're 3.5 hours from home and kind of stuck on the side of a riverbank. I'll take any help I can get. So he hooks his Chevrolet up to it, and we get ready to go try to pull it out, and his Chevrolet just sits there and spins. All 4 tires sitting there spinning, and as I'm nudging my truck up, it'll go like a little bit up, and then it would go back. It go a little bit up, and it go back. And every time my truck pulled back, it was dragging his truck backwards. And so we had the idea that let's try to unhook. We'll back up one more time. And so back the whole truck, trailer, and everything back down into the river, and got as far to the right as I could because the bank kind of sweeps to the left as you come out. So I got as far right as I could, and I just gunned it, gave it all the truck had, and I got it all but like just almost over that little hump. And it just needed just a little bit more. So I told the guy, I said, we'll rehook. We rehooked it to his truck, and his truck helped pull right on up over that last little bit of a hump after I gave him a second chain to extend the length that he was in front of me, so he wasn't right up on me and my truck dragging him back is easy. So we end up getting up out of the river, thankfully, and unhook. I gave the guy some cash to help him out for him helping get us out of that situation, because honestly I don't know if the winch would have worked, but if it hadn't worked I would have ended up having to pay a tow truck to come and do the same thing that this guy did. So I was more than happy to pay this guy to help get us out of this situation. Go back to talk to the owner of the, I guess at this point, the previous owner of the tractor. Made sure we were, good with him, and he wasn't upset that we tore up anything or what have you. And he was good. He's like, yep, good to go. He said, I'm sorry you had so much trouble. Glad it worked out and you got out. He said, I just want you to know you're going to be the talk of the town. He said, all us guys that hang out at the AutoZone, everybody's going to know about it as of tomorrow, that you come down here with your truck and drove through the river. He said, because that guy that you just seen, he'll make sure of it. He said, he's my neighbor, and he's a big mouth, and he likes to talk. So apparently, I'm not going to tell you the name of the little town, but it was a tiny town in the mountains of Virginia near Tennessee. And we will be the talk of that town probably for a couple of weeks, because we're the dumb idiots that come down there with that great big old truck and trailer and drove that thing through the river to get us a tractor. So here's a picture of the truck and trailer. Being as we didn't get on video, here's a picture of the truck and trailer afterwards, parked, I think it's Food City, where we stopped just to check everything over in that little town, just to make sure didn't do any damage to the truck or the trailer, and we were going to make the 3.5-hour drive home. Mind you, 3.5-hour drive home after going through a river. So that is the story of what we were doing across the river, why we were over there, and yeah, it was quite the adventure, one that probably pretty unbelievable unless you see the video or you lived it, which we did. We laughed pretty much the whole way home talking about it, but in all seriousness, I will buy any tractor anywhere. FarmerLukesEquipment.com. If you have a tractor that you want to sell, let us know. Obviously, we will travel across a river for one, so hopefully yours isn't across anything kind of crazy. But if it is, we'll video it, and you might be the next person that's talked about on our YouTube channel. Thanks. See you guys later.